saludar.
¿Ah? Perdón.
Actually, I'll give you my number.
How are you?
A nuestra hermana Gudelia por muchos años. Y hoy estamos presentes para recordar a nuestra hermana y escuchar un discurso que enfatiza la esperanza que tenía nuestra hermana, la cual nos ayudará a nosotros en este momento triste. Ahora damos nuestra atención a nuestro hermano Alex Armenta para los siguientes 20 minutos. Hermano Armenta, por favor.
This is a memorial for our sister Gudelia Sanchez. She was born the 22nd of November, 1935. She was 72 years old. She had 11 children, 23 grandchildren, and 2 grandchildren. She was baptized January 17th, 1961. I believe she had 46, 47 years. Faithful in the truth. There's a lot of things that we had in common with our sister, Gudelia, and many of you are parents. Many of you have children. When we look at our children, we say, Jehovah God, please help me to be a good parent. Please help me to raise my children so that they can stay faithful, because there's so many dangers for them. And so Gudelia had 11 children that she thought about like that. I talked to her many a times, and I would say, Gudelia, how did you do it? How did you take care of 11 children? And all of them being baptized. And she goes, I don't know. I prayed to Jehovah, I tried my best, and the older ones helped me. Hermanos, brothers and sisters, we read in the Bible of miracles. This is a miracle, to have 11 children baptized. She told me, she goes, but one of my children, he's not serving. He's not serving Jehovah right now, but all of them other ones are. And I told her, well, that son is still part of that arrangement, and Jehovah loves him very much, and so do we. And he'll be back, you watch. But of those 10 children that are serving, we have elders, pioneers, ministerial servants. Her oldest grandson, one of her older grandsons, is an elder in the congregation serving. And of those grandchildren, there's pioneers. You know, hearing these things, you would think you're reading about maybe Joshua, or you're reading about, I'm thinking in Spanish, but I'd be thinking about maybe Abraham, the descendants that he had and the blessings, because Gudelia had many blessings. But she suffered. She experienced in her life poverty. She knew what it was like not to have food for her children, but she always relied on Jehovah to take care of them, and they were taken care of. She knows what it was like to have pain. Imagine knowing that you have cancer and you love your children so much, and that you know you're going to die, but you're suffering with cancer. And she suffered. But you know what? She never missed a meeting in those 40-odd years. And especially during those times when she was ill, she was here, sitting right in the front. And you know what? She never complained and said, you know what, brother, I don't feel good. She goes, how are you doing, brother? How are my brothers? That was her attitude that she had. Through poverty to sickness, she endured. So how does this apply to her? Well, let's see what the scriptures have to say in Ecclesiastes 7:1. Ecclesiastes 7:1. It says, a name is better than a good oil, and the day of death than the day of one's being born. Gudelia had a good name with us, brothers, but especially she had a good name with Jehovah. But when we think of people when they suffer, and there's many people suffering, we wonder, how did Gudelia do it? How was she able to endure all those things and still help her children to be faithful to Jehovah? Well, she worshiped Jehovah, the God of wisdom, justice, love, and power. And that one quality of love that Jehovah has that she knew, and she knows all those qualities, was the love that Jehovah had for his people here on earth. That he had so much love for the world that he gave his only begotten son. She understood that because she was a mother. She had children. And she had faith in Jesus Christ. Also, she knew, even though she was suffering, that someday there was going to be a paradise. She knew of those promises, and they were reality to her. And we're going to read another scripture here in Isaiah 55. Isaiah 55. We're going to read verse 10 and 11. And it says, for just as the pouring rain descends and the snow from the heavens does not return to that place, unless it actually saturates the earth and makes it produce and sprout, and seed is actually given to the sower and bread to the eater, so is my word that goes forth from my mouth will prove to be. It will not return to me without results, but it will certainly do that which I have delighted, and it will have certain success in that for which I have sent it. We see this ocean. The ocean evaporates, gives clouds. Those clouds go to the mountains. They produce snow. The snow produces water, gives rivers to cultivate what we eat. Everything that Jehovah has created has a purpose. Everything. We have a purpose. And Gudelia knew that in the future, she was going to be part of that purpose, and she was going to have an opportunity to live forever on this earth. But why are we on this earth? To suffer? To have pain and to just die? Well, the reason why we die is because of the disobedience of our first father and mother, Adam and Eve. And I like to read that scripture there in Genesis 3:19. Genesis 3:19. And it says that because of their disobedience, here in 19 it says, in the sweat of your face you will eat bread until you return to the ground. For out of it you were taken, for dust you are, and to dust you will return. There was a purpose for this earth. Adam and Eve had the privilege to have children to be raised in a paradise. But because of their disobedience, we have to suffer in regards to what they did. But let's see what it says in Romans 5:12. Romans 5:12. And it says, this is why, just as through one man's sin entered into the world, and death through sin, thus death spread to all men, because they have all sinned. There's been an illustration used many a times in talks where they talk about a pan to bake a cake. Well, when you buy that pan, it's perfect. But if you drop it, it has a dent. And then what happens is you have imperfection in every cake that's baked. But you got to look at a pan that maybe your great-great-grandparents had and your mother has it now. It's full of dents. And that's why we die, because of that imperfection of our descendants. What's the condition of the dead? Let's read Ezekiel 18. And verse 4. It says, look, all the souls to me, they belong. All the souls of the Father, so likewise the soul of the Son, to me they belong. The soul that is sinning, it itself will die. So it says that a soul is mortal. That because of our imperfection, when we die, our soul dies. But what's the condition of us when we do die? Let's read another scripture, Ecclesiastes. We're going to read chapter 9, verse 5. Ecclesiastes 9, verse 5. It says, for the living are conscious that they will die. But as for the dead, they are conscious of nothing at all. Neither do they any more have wages, because the remembrance of them has been forgotten. And also we're going to read verse 10. Verse 10 says, all that your hands find to do, do with your very power. For there is no work, nor devising, nor knowledge, nor wisdom in Sheol, the place to which you are going. Sheol is the grave, and there's no activity. But what's our condition? Our condition is that we're not conscious. We're resting. A lot of people think that there's a torment, people die and they go to hell, or they got an immortal soul that wanders. No. No, Jehovah's a God that he knows we suffered enough here on earth, and he wants us to rest and wait for the promise of a resurrection that's going to come soon. And Matthew 20 talks of that resurrection. Matthew 20 and verse 28. And it says, just as the Son of Man came not to be ministered, but to minister, and give his soul as a ransom in exchange for many. Yes, when Jesus came here on earth, he was not to be served. He served others. He ministered to others. But the purpose that he came here for was to give his soul as a 1 Corinthians 15 and verse 22. And it says, for just as in Adam all are dying, so also in the Christ all will be made alive. And this is a guarantee that our God Jehovah gives us, that we will be resurrected. And how are we going to be resurrected? Are we going to be old? Are we going to be suffering? No, we're going to be young men again. I've seen pictures. Have you seen pictures of Gudelia? She was a very beautiful woman. But when we see Gudelia again, she's going to be a young grandma. She's going to be very beautiful. And we're going to be young again too. So that's the hope that Gudelia has, and that's the hope that we have also. Also, there's going to be another resurrection that's going to be for everybody. It's the same resurrection, excuse me. I keep thinking in Spanish. We're going to read Acts 24. 24:15. Acts 24:15 says, "And I have hope towards God, which hope these men themselves also entertain, that there is going to be a resurrection of both the righteous and the unrighteous." So that means that not just all the good people are going to be resurrected, there's going to be unrighteous people too. But only Jehovah knows who's going to be resurrected. So that's very encouraging to know that there's something after death. Something a lot better, a real life. But here we have Kingdom Hall that we use for worship to Jehovah, but it's a house of mourning. The purpose of this meeting is so that we can encourage the bereaved and let them know how much we love them. Sometimes we don't know what to say, but just by our presence here, they know that we love them, and we feel the loss also. It's interesting when we read about Jesus in the time of Lazarus, when Martha and Mary were crying for their brother and said, "Jesus, if you would have been here earlier, my brother would have died." And you know what? He looked at him and he groaned, he cried. Something came from inside that I remember one time somebody died, and I know how that feels. And you know why he felt that way? Not because of Lazarus, because he knew the pain that those people were going through, Martha and Mary. So he felt the pain for them, and he felt for them. But you know what? He could have said, "Don't worry, Martha. Don't worry, Mary. Jehovah gives me the power. Lazarus is coming back." But no, he felt the way they felt. And that's the way we feel here too today. We love our brothers very much, and we know they're suffering. And that's what we want to do, is encourage them. But there's also another reason why we're here today. In this scripture in Ecclesiastes 7:2. Ecclesiastes 7:2. And it says, "Better is it to go to the house of mourning than to go to the banquet house, because that is the end of all mankind. And the one alive should take it to his heart." Yes, we feel bad for our sister, but doesn't this make us think about how we are using our life? What are we doing to have a good name? The same as our sister. So it's time to reflect and say, well, Jehovah, what can I do? What adjustments can I do in my life to have the same mentality of Jesus Christ? And one scripture that can help us to understand the mentality that we should have is in Matthew 6. Matthew 6, verse 19 to 21. It says, "Stop storing up for yourselves treasures upon the earth, where moth and rust and consume, and where thieves break in and steal. Rather, store up for yourselves treasures in the heaven, where neither moth nor rust consumes, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." What's the attitude of this world we live in? Success, riches. Well, Gudelia, she didn't have a lot of money, but she's very wealthy in the heavens. Jehovah remembers all the things she did. There's many rich people that when they die, they would give everything they have to just have a moment of life. But Gudelia didn't feel like that. Gudelia couldn't wait. She knew there was going to be something better because she had full confidence that all she had done was the best that she can do for Jehovah. So brothers, the example that our sister Gudelia left us. I'm the service overseer in this congregation of the Kona Spanish, and I have the privilege to go out in service with the brothers during the week. She was there on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. And she was very ill in the last months, and she was out there with us, encouraging us. So brothers, this is the time that we should do the best that we can to serve Jehovah. Because there's other people, they don't understand when people die. What is the purpose of life? But through our preaching, we can give them good news to let them know that there is a future for all of them and all of us. Also, the key here is in 1 Corinthians 15:58. First Corinthians 15:58. Consequently, beloved brothers, become steadfast, unmovable, always having plenty to do in the work of the Lord, knowing that your labor is not in vain in connection with the Lord. Notice those words in there, brothers? Become steadfast, unmovable, consistent, the way our sister Gudelia was. Never quit, regardless of what's going to happen. And brothers, pressures are going to hit us. But we got to stay consistent, and we got to keep busy, having plenty to do in the work of the Lord, knowing that everything we have done is not in vain. So brothers, remember that we have brothers that are leading examples for us. How many times do we read in the magazines of brothers that are suffering in other places, but their faith has kept them going forward? Well, we have one here with us today. That's Gudelia Sanchez, who left an excellent name for us to imitate. Thank you.
Gracias, hermano Alex Armando, por sus animosas explicaciones de las esperanzas de nuestra hermana Gudelia Sánchez y su familia. Ahora, para continuar con nuestro programa esta tarde, tenemos la segunda parte en español, para todos los que hablan español. Con nosotros tenemos al hermano Andrés Valdés. Damos nuestra atención por el hermano Valdés.
Les queremos dar las muy buenas tardes a todos ustedes. Quiero en este momento invitarles a que vayamos a la Biblia, libro es Eclesiastés, capítulo 3. Y en este momento quiero tomar la oportunidad de agradecer profundamente el privilegio y el gran honor que me otorgaron la familia González Sánchez de estar aquí precisamente esta tarde con ustedes. Muchísimas gracias, hermanos. Ahora, lea junto conmigo, por favor, capítulo 3, los versículos 1, 2 y el 4. Dice allí: para todo hay un tiempo señalado, aún un tiempo para todo asunto bajo los cielos, tiempo de nacer, tiempo de morir, tiempo de plantar y tiempo de desarraigar lo que se haya plantado. El 4. Tiempo de llorar y tiempo de reír, tiempo de plañir y tiempo de dar saltos. Bueno, precisamente por lo que acabamos de leer, es la razón por la cual todos estamos aquí esta tarde. Nos hemos reunido aquí para conmemorar, para de hecho condolernos porque el gran enemigo, nuestro temible enemigo, de hecho ha logrado arrebatarnos a un ser querido. Estamos aquí en solidaridad para estar con nuestros hermanos por el fallecimiento de nuestra hermana Gudelia Sánchez. Quiero en este momento hacer un recuento breve de su vida. Nuestra hermana Sánchez la ven nacer un día 22 de noviembre 1935 en la ciudad La Lima, Guerrero, Estado de México. Fue la hija mayor de sus padres, Arturo Sánchez y Antonina Alcaraz. Fallece ella a los 72 años, el 31 de diciembre 2007. Ahora, entre este tiempo de su nacimiento y fallecimiento, nuestra hermana contrae matrimonio a los 25 años, el día 5 de diciembre 1960. Y ella tiene 11 hijos que le sobreviven a ella. Y estos son Samuel González, Alma Ruth Marín, Mara Ramírez, Miguel González, Leticia Jones, Saúl Sergio Salvador González, Miriam Fisher, Merari Navarro y Emir Anaí Page. También le sobreviven todos sus hermanos, 8 en total: Susana, Teresa, Arturo, Rosa, Abel, Guadalupe, Santa, Abiud y Elidet. 2 de ellas se encuentran con nosotros aquí esta tarde. También le sobreviven 23 nietos y 2 bisnietos. Ahora, abra su Biblia de nuevo, Eclesiastés capítulo 7. Quiero ahora hacer un recuento del fiel servicio de nuestra hermana Gudelia. Ella conoce la verdad y se bautiza el 17 de enero 1961 en la Ciudad de México. De hecho, sirve fielmente en congregaciones del estado de Guerrero, la Ciudad de México, California y finalmente aquí en Hawái. Tiene el privilegio de conducir estudios bíblicos. Me puedo imaginar cuántas personas no ayudó ella a conocer la verdad. De hecho, ella, entre lo que yo tengo aquí, menciona que su mayor hazaña fue no solamente de tener 11 hijos, y ya los mencioné ahorita, sino de poder guiar a todos y cada uno de los hijos a la verdad y andar en el camino, servir a Jehová. Yo, hermanos, tengo 2 hijos y a veces los hermanos me abordan y me dicen: qué bonito, hermano, que tiene usted sus hijos en la verdad. Y sí, se siente uno feliz, pero yo nomás tuve 2. La hermana tuvo 11 hijos y todos, la mayoría, están aquí con nosotros y están sirviendo fielmente a Jehová. De hecho, hermanos, en realidad nuestra hermana Gudelia se conoció por ser una persona muy hospitalaria. Entre pláticas ayer con la familia nos dimos cuenta lo que hacía la hermana, ¿no? Por los niños aquí en la congregación, cosiéndoles cositas, dándoles un regalito. Y yo creo que todos nosotros, a pesar de que la hermana tenía pocos o era de bajos recursos, ella siempre estaba dispuesta a dar de sí a los hermanos, a la hermandad. De hecho, hermanos, yo personalmente, algo por lo cual voy a recordar a nuestra hermana querida para siempre, es el profundo cariño y respeto que ella me mostró a mí, sin merecer, hermano. Yo no merecía eso de parte de ella, pero ella siempre me mostró eso. Y de hecho, lo inculcó en sus hijos. Desde que llegué ayer, hermano, y ahora todavía este día, no solamente sus hijos, hasta nietos, hermano, vinieron y me abrazaron. Hermano, nuevamente, yo no merezco ese cariño, pero qué bonito se siente, y todo ello debido al respeto que nuestra hermana Gudelia tenía hacia la organización de Jehová, a quienes llevaban la delantera, los ancianos, y a su hermandad. En realidad, hermanos, podemos decir mucho de nuestra hermana, que va de acuerdo con lo que dice aquí. Miren, ya lo dirigía a Eclesiastés, capítulo 7, y vamos a leer, lea conmigo el versículo 1, por favor, que dice allí, que mejor es un nombre que el buen aceite, y el día de la muerte que el día en que uno nace. Pudiéramos decir, ¿cómo es posible, no, que sea mejor el día de la muerte que cuando uno nace? Pero miren, para nuestra muerte, todos habremos ya tenido la oportunidad de hacer o no hacernos un buen nombre delante de Jehová. Y sin duda alguna, hermano, que usted y yo sabemos que nuestra hermana Gudelia se hizo un buen nombre delante de nosotros y especialmente delante de nuestro Creador Jehová Dios. 47 años, hermano, de servicio fiel, que inclusive, si usted ve en las fotos allá, yo miré una en casa de nuestro hermano Sergio ayer, una foto de hace 3 semanas donde aquí precisamente está tomada una foto de la hermana Gudelia, todavía enferma, acudiendo a los banquetes que Jehová nos provee para seguirnos alimentando en estos tiempos tan difíciles en que vivimos. Algo hay que pensar, hermanos, cuando nosotros a veces dejamos de venir a las reuniones, pero nuestra hermana fielmente se hizo un buen nombre delante de Jehová Dios, y es un nombre que le va a dividir dividendos futuros, hermanos, como vamos a ver a continuación. Miren, ahora vamos a seguir adelante mencionando que la muerte en realidad es desconsoladora, en realidad es un angustioso sufrimiento para todos, o cuando un ser querido fallece. Para muchos, miren, la muerte es algo que no pueden comprender, y de hecho hay quienes hasta llegan a culpar a Dios por arrebatarnos a nuestros seres queridos. Me gustaría, miren, compartir una antigua fábula judía que explica que los 2 gemelos de cierto rabino mueren durante una ausencia de él. Cuando éste regresa, se dirige a su esposa y pregunta por sus hijos. Ahora, note lo que su esposa le dice: querido, si te prestasen 2 joyas preciosas y te dijeran que podrías disfrutar de ellas mientras estuvieran a tu cargo, ¿tendrías derecho a discutir cuando el que te las prestó te pidiese que las devolvieras? Bueno, el rabino pensó un momento y le dice: no, claro que no. Entonces ella lo lleva a donde yacen sus hijos muertos y le dice: Dios quería recoger sus joyas. Hermanos y amigos que están aquí, pregunto yo, ¿es el Creador tan cruel que dé muerte a alguien sabiendo que rompe el corazón de sus seres queridos, de sus hijos? Como padres, ¿haríamos nosotros algo que rompiera el corazón de nuestros hijos, hermano? No. Miren, nuestra hermana Gudelia, ella, en primer lugar, adoraba a Jehová Dios, el Dios de sabiduría, justicia, amor y poder. Ahora, el amor de Dios, hermanos, es tan intenso, es tan puro y perfecto, que de hecho impregna de tal manera toda su personalidad y sus acciones, que puede decirse que en realidad Él es la personificación del amor. Ahora, vamos a la Biblia, hermanos, 1 Tesalonicenses capítulo 4. Así de que nosotros, en vez de culpar a Dios, porque nosotros conocemos la verdad, y de hecho Juan 8:32 dice que la verdad nos libera de enseñanzas que no son bíblicas. Entonces nosotros no culpamos a Dios, más bien dejamos que Él nos guíe, nos enseñe la verdad y al mismo tiempo que nos consuele. Note este texto, ténganlo en mente. 1 Tesalonicenses capítulo 4, su versículo 13. Dice: además, hermanos, no queremos que estén, note aquí, en ignorancia respecto a los que están durmiendo en la muerte, para que no se apesadumbren ustedes, como lo hacen también los demás que no tienen esperanza. Note ahí. Ahí nos dice, hermanos, en primer lugar, que no estemos en ignorancia en cuanto a la condición en que se encuentran los muertos. y que al mismo tiempo tengamos esperanza sobre lo que habrá de venir. Bueno, en realidad, hermanos, esta es la esperanza de que vamos a hablar a continuación, la esperanza que abrigaba hasta el último momento de su vida nuestra hermana Sánchez. Ahora, para analizar por qué mueren todas las personas buenas, y de hecho toda persona, es importante que nosotros nos remontemos al comienzo de la creación humana. Miren, para ello vamos al libro de Génesis, capítulo 2. Y es interesante observar que Jehová crea al hombre para vivir. Él no crea al hombre para vivir